I want to give you guys a little update on the mini HP that I picked up off of Craigslist. In that last video I showed you guys the prices on eBay of like a new CPU and 2 gigabytes of RAM. With shipping and everything, it was going to be about $20, maybe even a little bit less. I went back on the eBay and I stumbled across a motherboard nearly identical to the one that's in here, and they have PCIe slots. Had a CPU installed. They didn't list the CPU, but it also had 2 gigabytes of RAM. It was 37 bucks, and I sent him the offer for 20 bucks, and he wound up accepting it. He shipped me the motherboard, and it arrived today, and I just want to show you guys the package. I'm pretty pissed off. That is pretty ridiculous to have it smashed that bad. So I'm gonna open it up and see what we got, see if there's any damage. I was prepared to spend $20 on a CPU and 2 gigabytes of RAM, and I wound up spending $31. But I got a motherboard, and it's got a PCIe lane, excuse me. It's a gamble. I don't know if it's even gonna fit in the case, but we're gonna find out. Love getting some quality bubble wrap. All right, there she is. Look at that little tiny PCIe lane. I'm really curious if this motherboard's gonna fit in there. I don't know, actually. It's gonna be super close. I might have to cut this little metal piece out right here and just have the case cover right there, because that might be the difference. Different CPU. I wish they would actually put the gigahertz on it or something, but wait, actually this one says 3800 and this one says 5000. Alright, so we got a I didn't see that number right there before, but that's a 5000 chip, and this one's a 3800, and that's actually a pretty big bump up. Oh, and another thing I forgot to tell you is that when I looked up the specs for this motherboard, it's actually listed on HP's website as taking 4 gigabytes. So it'll take 4 gigabytes. This one was only listed at 2 gigabytes. So if I can get this motherboard to fit in there, it's a pretty massive upgrade. So hopefully we'll be able to make it work. For some reason, if we can't get that motherboard to fit in the case, I still got my 2 gigabytes of RAM and a upgraded chip from this one. I could always resell that board on eBay and recoup my costs. At this point, it's still win-win, even if the motherboard winds up not being able to fit. Unfortunately, I don't think it's gonna fit without cutting this metal right here out of the way, but whatever. If I have to cut some metal, so be it. It's not the first time I've cut some metal on a case to make stuff fit. Put this little motherboard in there just as a dry run. See what happens. Well, it's already up against the PSU and the metal. So, and there's a rivet in the way. So already we're already it's not going to fit without some modifications. Man, it is so close. Just so close. That's what we're going to do. We are going to put this motherboard aside, if I can get it back out of here. And we're going to take out the 2 gigabytes of RAM. And we're going to take out this 5000 series CPU. Right after I pulled that CPU out of this board, I dropped it on the fucking table and bent a couple pins. Not really bad, just slightly bent them. And just seconds before I dropped that board, my camera ran out of room on the SD card. So you guys will never be able to see that. But I wish I would have got it on camera. But anyways, I straightened out the pins and I installed that 5000 series chip in this little board. And I think I already mentioned it, but on the HP website it says that this board only supports up to the 4800, but they are the same wattage, so I don't think it's going to be an issue. I mean, the 4800 is at 2.5 gigahertz and this one's at 2.6 gigahertz, so it can't be like a heat issue or anything, and the wattage is the same. So maybe those recommendations came out before the 5000 chip was even put on market. So I don't know. I also put the 2 gigabytes of RAM in, and we're gonna go ahead and put this little PC back together and see if everything boots. The biggest issue with doing this swap is that this power supply is only 108 watts, and the power supply for the PC that this came out of is 220 watts. That's a huge difference. I think most of the reason why the bump up is so large is because obviously you're going to be able to run a graphics card in here. I'm already spending too much money on this project, but it is fun. So it's going to be an interesting road, but right now we're going to set this motherboard aside and we're going to install the original motherboard with the 2 gigabytes of RAM and that faster chip. So let's do that. Alright guys, I have it plugged in. We got the new 5000 series chip in there and 2 gigabytes of RAM, and we're gonna go ahead and power it up, see what happens. You guys ready? There's our Vista logo. Alright, our CPU is working, our 2 gigabytes of RAM is working. Super excited. Let's go into view computer details. Why does it say 3 gigabytes of memory? I thought that was 2 gigabytes. It was advertised as 2 gigabytes and there's 3 gigabytes. So instead of two 1 gigabyte sticks, he has a 2 gigabyte stick and a 1 gigabyte stick. Alright, that's even better than I thought. Look at this. The Athlon 5000 and 3 gigabytes of RAM. Alright, it prompted me to restart the computer to finalize changes. I think I'm just going to run the built-in benchmark. Last time our best component was the disk transfer rate, and the worst one was the gaming graphics at 3.0. That's not going to change, but the memory was at 3.9 and the processor was at 4.8. So let's go ahead and rerun that and see what kind of numbers we get. Alright, let's see what changes. The processor went from 4.8 to 5.1. The RAM went from 3.9 to 5.0. That's a big jump. The desktop performance for Windows actually dropped a point. It went from 3.1 to 3.0, which is kind of weird. The graphics stayed the same, 3.0. Not bad at all. Now that we got all this taken care of, I need to load up a different operating system and see how it performs, because the last time I tried that, it was really bad. And after that, I'll probably start trying to fit that other motherboard in here, but we'll see. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.